just seems to me that it's just forcing the metal here, the steel, U-shaped steel here, too much. But it is supposed to be like that apparently. I don't like these steel-shaped springs here, but I mean they're not terrible. Nothing compared to the garbage they make nowadays. But I would really rather have a coil spring, because I mean eventually I think this might break, or well, I guess not. It doesn't really matter. The thing that I do hate is these rivets. These rivets here, and you'll see why I hate them once you get into the governor. But the thing is, they do rust, and then they fall out. And ideally, you have enough space. Usually, there's more than enough space that you can just replace them with little tiny bolts, a nut, which is much better, especially if it's stainless steel. But at times it's more difficult because these rivets, sometimes they're not just single rivet, they're sort of like one inside the other sort of thing, and it's hard to remove the other one. Anti-seize does stick like hell to your fingers and skin. Just use gasoline to clean it up. And then soap and water, of course. Or you can just use that orange stuff that most guys use. Now that it's out, you're able to just pull out the plunger, and the whole thing just comes out here. But you'll see that it's threaded inside there, right? You're not able to, and there's these little protrusions here in order for you to be able to spin it. You're not able to spin it because see it's caught onto one of these posts. That's why you'd have to either remove the posts or just remove the whole thing like this. You don't have to remove the posts actually. But I'll just show you here. Just remove the whole thing. I did put some anti-seize inside. There's this big spring here. Oh fuck. See this thing here? But you'll see on this here that there's little protrusions here, and you bend them down and they'll fit into the slot there, so that this thing here won't turn anymore. And if you were, it's threaded here, so you are able to unthread this and adjust this, but it comes factory adjusted, so you shouldn't have to adjust this. I don't know what adjusting this would do actually. It would just cause the plunger to go further in, right? Or for not so far in. So for whatever reason, if you know that the plunger is going too far in, too far back, you could adjust it here. But it's bent there so that you don't really need adjustment. Now all I have to do here is just put it back and adjust it. Turn this here to where it's supposed to be. You'll see that it also has a little protrusion there. Once again, that's that this doesn't spin and doesn't allow this to spin. So I'll just put it back. Put the just clean my hands up a little bit. To go flat side is supposed to go parallel to the line between these bolts here. So basically it's supposed to go, let's see, this one goes to first. Yeah. Doesn't really matter which way you put this. I mean, with regards to like which side, you see that one side is slightly bigger than the other, it doesn't matter. What matters that this tank here, this little protrusion is aligned with one of the slots. It's a mini motherfucker. You see the slot there? There are various slots, you see, so you can change the position. You don't want it diagonally. You got to make sure that whatever you do here, regardless of what you do here, this here doesn't come out there, and that it's, you know, sitting perpendicular to the slot. You'll see that once you get in the slot, it doesn't turn anymore. See, if you leave it up here, then yeah, it'll spin and whatever. Put that in. Sort of just I just prefer to, just easier to just look at where it's supposed to go. It's supposed to go like this, and like this. So I just put the spring in. Makes sense now. Just try it in before just bolting everything back together. Let's see if it'll work. No. I might not be able to do it because I have to push the spring in. It is right. This is correct. Let me just put this piece back. And by the way, it will go on the same side as the other bottom terminal, right? You see? They're both on the same side between the same posts. If you just put it the other way, then it won't align with these holes here. Both of them are isolated from the case, by the way. But by the way, remember I was talking about the terminals here? You see that this terminal here, top terminal, the one that's higher, the one that's farther away from the end of the plunger here. See that? This is the lower one, this is the higher one. You see that it's attached to the plunger here, top there. So it doesn't go to the windings, but you'll see that the lower one is connected to this wire here, and it does go to the windings. So that's how you know if for whatever reason you don't have the numbers there. You know that in order to test this solenoid here, connect the other terminal of the voltage source or the battery charger to this one here, not this one. This one is just connected to nothing. It's just a points contact. It's not a terminal. It's not a, how can I say, it's not affecting the solenoid. It's the other way around. The solenoid here opens and closes this point. Right, so then there are these washers. Put them in. All four nuts are the same size and thread, by the way. It'd be nice to put some washers on the top as well, but it's not a big deal. don't. I just like to press it down like that. I'm using my finger to drive the nuts down. These are 5/16ths, by the way. I'm using 5/16th wrench. There's nice and tight. Let's put it in reach. Oh, fuck. So they're diagonally. It's supposed to be like that. Move it up one other notch. You could possibly press the spring and then instead of having to remove it like I had, just compress the spring and then move the that round whatever that is. Slide ring, perhaps that would be a name. Let's see if I can do it by just loosening. I can loosen it up. It's just easier to just take it out. It's supposed to be slightly like that, slightly on a diagonal. Apparently none of the little no matter where I put this, it's not completely parallel. It's always slightly angled. That is weird. Okay, maybe it is supposed to be like that. unless I were to undo or change these threads a little bit. I mean, if it's slightly angled like this, it won't matter. So let's just put it back, see if it works. It just makes it a little more tricky because I'm not really sure which side it's supposed to be angled to. It's good there, you see? Okay, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. Not like it's gonna damage it unless if it's too much of an angle to the point where, you know, it's not holding in properly, then, you know, it could possibly disengage, but it was like this, so I'm just gonna leave it like this, at least for now. It's not gonna, it's pretty snug in there, so. See, it doesn't come out. Push, pull, it doesn't come out anymore. I have to twist it to come out. Twist it back to put it in. It's not coming out anymore. So that worked. Just hoping that it would be a little more straight. See what I mean? It's slightly, I don't think you'll be able to see it, but here, I'll put the wrench and you can see the line. It's actually smaller than 1/4 inch. But you see, that's where the direction is. I was just hoping it could go like, be a little more aligned, like aligned with the two holes, so that the two, you know, side little slots here will be parallel. They'd fit in completely. But I think maybe they've done it this way so that, yeah, if it, yeah, that, okay, see what happens. It's angled like this in order to clear the shift levers here. If it was completely parallel, then you'd have to put it at an angle of 90 degrees, which would be impossible because of the shift lever. It's not the lever itself, it's actually the protrusion lever casing this here, see? So that's why they make the angle here, so that you can put it at a 45-degree angle, or just a 1/4 turn. That other way that I was saying, it would be, I mean, technically it would be better, but this is more than sufficient. So you see, you only have to give it a 1/4 turn in order to fit it in. Whereas if we had at the completely parallel that I was saying, you'd have to put it at a 90-degree angle. So that's why they've done it this way. Okay. See, I know my videos, there's a lot of them and they're, you know, pretty long, but at least I'd like to know exactly in every single detail how these things work and why these things were made the way they were. When you have that kind of knowledge, you can adapt, you can troubleshoot, you can do anything. Okay, so put this back. That's at the top. I've already checked the holes do align. By the way, sometimes, you know, there is a little bit of adjustment here, so I just put these screws in here, these bolts in before, terminal bolts, before I tighten the cap bolts that hold the cap. Did test the solenoid, by the way. It works great. Final test. Twist it in, twist it in place. There you have it. Might as well. I'll leave this out here. Put back the bolts here where they're supposed to go, just so I don't lose them. Okay, now we have 10 more minutes here. 9 more minutes. I'll just show you. Oh yeah, and in order to put, you see, remember this rubber here? This rubber goes around here and it goes all the way to the bottom. Then on top of the rubber we have this protective cap here. It's not, I mean, it's not absolutely necessary, but it is a protection here, just so that rocks and other shit don't hit the solenoid. And it's got sort of a, it's got a clamp. It's clampable, just like those clamps for pipes and hoses. See, rubber goes into it like that. This guy's thought of everything. See, and then it goes around there, and you will have to remove these 2 bolts here in order to slide the rubber and the protective cap here. Actually, you don't have to slide the protective cap, but you do have to slide the rubber because it's pretty tight fit there. You see, it won't go over. I mean, it will go over the bolts here if you really want to do it that way, but I just removed the 2 bolts here. Alright, so set this aside. Now, the other thing that I'd like to, I believe I already showed you guys the gasket. They're all paper gaskets, by the way. I'd like to mention, talk about the governor now. Oh, by the way, there's also a relay. I also don't have the relay. Basically, all a relay is, for those of you that don't know, they're just a series of like switches. Basically, like when one switch turns on, other 2 switches turn off, for example. But it's just a bunch of switches, that's all. Okay. Usually they're electromagnetically activated. Nowadays they do have relays, and you know they're still the same. Still use electromagnets. I mean, perhaps some of the like really new cars, they now have electronic relays, maybe. But I was working on a car, and it's a 2008 car, and tiny relay, pop the case off, and lo and behold, it's still the good old electromagnet. Of course, now they have those shitty little ones with the plastic and all that crap, but it's still the same thing. There's, you see the cap here, I'll just show you. Here's what the relay looks like. Once again, this is supposed to be off of Studebaker. But at 21 out of the 22 car makers that existed, 21 of them used the BorgWarner, the same overdrive. So it was pretty much universal, okay? But the part I've seen the gears for sale, I've seen these for sale. But you'll see that this is made, the casing, the housing, it's made of a material called antimony. It's not aluminum, and antimony is, it's actually not a metal, it's a semi-metal. I really don't like this material, but it is thick, so the lack of quality is sort of compensated by the thickness. But I'd much rather have one that's made of cast iron or that's stainless steel or something. Much rather. And you'll see that the case is made of that fucking material that I fucking hate. Fucking goddamn plastic. I fucking hate plastic. Jesus Christ. I've seen other ones with metal, made of steel, and the same steel that the solenoid is made of. I don't know why they made it this fucking garbage here. But I will measure it so that maybe I can get a better one. Another car. It should probably be the same. So I don't think Warner made the. I don't think they made these governors here. Let's see. Yeah, you see, on the top there it says. This particular model here, it says Bendix Products Division, South Bend Industries. Right? So the other one that I've seen one on eBay, and you'll see that this one, for example, this one is held on to the housing by three bolts here. The other one, it's 4 bolts holding a steel cap, and the internals are much better. You'll see here's a little rivet and there's a little tab for the electric, for the wire here. See that the rivet itself, it's pretty good. It's made of brass. There's no rust on it at all. But the connector here just got corroded away. Now the thing is, you see, that's the problem with these fucking rivets. If this was a bolt, I'd just be able to unbolt this here, little screw, take it out, put the wire in, that's it. How am I going to put the wire in this fucking piece of shit here? I either have to solder it, and there's, rust and junk around it, and I really don't like soldering, guys. Bolts and screws, those are the best ways. Solder, they break, it's just a pain in the ass. Bolts, they're much better, much easier. So that's the problem. I'm just going to quickly measure this here, so that you and me can check. Maybe I'll just buy a better one. Inside it's all made of top quality materials, high grade steel and all that. But it's just the casing here and this plastic lid. There's more problems with the internal that I'll show you soon, in just a bit. The diameter here is 31 point 31.2 millimeters, 31 millimeters, which in fucking inches is, it's 1/8. It's approximately 1 3/16. A little bit bigger actually, the overall thread. It's more like 1 3/16, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 128. That's fucking 8 inches, but it's a little over. It's between 1 3/8 and 1 and. Sorry, it's between 1 3/16 and 2/8, which is a quarter. So between 1 3/16 and 1 1/4. Just use the fucking millimeters, guys. Fucking inches, fucking 8 inches. See, millimeters, 31.2 millimeters. That easy. Fucking quarters, fucking fractions. That there it is. Show you the next video of the internal problems. Just do a separate video. It's probably easier.